So recently, my most favorite show ended, which was a part of my most favorite TV's universe, I guess? Extended universe? Something like that? And the day after the last episode of Better Call Saul, I had an idea. What if I attempted to combine my favorite game and my favorite TV series into one challenge? Which, by the way, this video is more so about the whole Breaking Bad side of things. Better Call Saul comes at a later date, because I have an entirely different idea for that one. But with that said, this is the moment that Taiga made a one-line joke into a video. So, seeing as this is the Breaking Bad challenge, you can already kinda guess what direction I was going for this. Yeah, it's mostly gonna be Alchemist, because Alchemist is the only tower that can really, in any way, resemble this show. I mean, to be fair, you can only wonder what is actually in the Berserker brew that the Alchemist has, if not, well, you know, the blue stuff perhaps. Heck, what I'm saying isn't even really a joke, there's actually a real-life historical basis for this claim. Now, to the challenge, you can kinda expect that Alchemist only isn't gonna be the easiest of games, so we put it on an easy map just to compensate, and even then, it was a little risky. Because, I mean, Alchemist is a slow killer. It does a very small amount of damage per tick, and even with the middle path upgrade, which makes acid tick faster, you're pretty much going to be relying on the middle path abilities for any sort of damage. Although that said, it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, all things considered. Although, let's not get ahead of ourselves, let's actually get to the beginning of the challenge first. Now, seeing that the base Alchemist has pretty much no damage on its own, and as well, it has really no good upgrades up until tier 3, the early game was definitely carried by Oben to a great extent. Because, I mean, Alchemist even struggles against pink or green balloons, and not even counting something like a Moab or Ceramic. But other than Oben, we're mostly just going for 202s and 022 Alchemist, because the acid pulls are kinda decent, so is larger potions, but the main upgrade we're gonna need for damage for the time being is faster acid. And also, not to mention, I also did get a lead to gold, because I thought the extra income would be pretty well worth it. And at this point you can probably tell that this isn't really much of a challenge as much as it's a funny gimmick, but I don't care. And you may be wondering, well Taiga, how did you do with the round 4-day Moab? Well, I'll tell you, I just kinda spammed perishing potions, and it did the job quite well. Of course, greatly helped by the explosion caused by unstable concoction.
This is not meth.
And after that, the game was kinda breezy. I mean, it's not exactly easy, like, not the easiest game I've ever had. But I mean, the 40s are generally pretty easy, and as well, I got the middle path ability by round 46, so really, there wasn't really much to worry about for the most part. Though I gotta say, this game definitely opened my eyes to the power of the Middle Path Alchemist, because all things considered, it's actually a pretty great tower, because it does 66 damage per second for 20 seconds and has a 1/4 uptime for its ability, so it's actually pretty great, and I think I might use it more after doing this challenge, video, gimmick thing. Moving on, the first tier 5 tower I got was the Total Transformation. This essentially allows 5 monkeys around the Alchemist that are tier 3 and below and are actually monkeys to be transformed into
little blue monster guys.
Is there even an official name for these guys? And they have pretty much the exact same stats as the normal tower, except they have a little bit more pierce for whatever reason. Now, of course, Total Transformation here is a metaphor for how Walter White had become Heisenberg. You see, the clues are all here, in his blue fur, which of course stands for the blue meth, or the Berserker brew. And of course, who could forget, him transforming monkeys around him is a clear metaphor for when he corrupts Jesse Pinkman, and of course when he forced Bitch Life to launder money. And of course, the explosion caused by Total Transformation's concoction is very reminiscent of the poor fate that met Gustavo Fring, the innocent owner of a chicken restaurant called Los Polos Hermanos. To be honest, it's quite brave that Ninja Kiwi would let in such a Bravo Vince into their game, considering that only high IQ intellectuals would pick up on such metaphors and similes. And thankfully, because this ability has a half uptime, it's pretty easy to balance. Just basically use it when there are things on the screen, and don't use it too early or else you'll die to ceramics. Now, the next big tower I ended up getting was Bloon Master Alchemist, which, to be fair, is the only really other option I had, because, I mean, you can't use a permabrew on other alchemists for some reason. And considering I didn't really intend on spending any more money in this game, it turned out to be a pretty good choice. Now, as you can plainly see, the Bloon Master Alchemist actually represents the money. The jewels and gold on the Alchemist represents the envy, the greed, the ego that Walter White had throughout the show. And the way he shrinks down balloons to a red balloon, it actually represents how he killed people to get the money. Whether it be by physically killing them, or slowly killing them with their meth addiction. His previous upgrade, Rubber to Gold, is actually very symbolic of the fact that he used to enrich people with gold, aka knowledge, by being a school teacher, and then when he gains the golden jewels, he becomes Heisenberg, because he gains money and starts to kill people. And I thought the first Bravo Vince was pretty risky, but this one is going off the chain. I'm kind of surprised that I'm even allowed to talk about this, because once I release this Bravo Vince to the world, Bravo Vince himself will have to come down to my house and make me write for the next series, Gotta Give Holly Molly. Now in the end, I don't think we really learned anything, nor did we really gain anything. Well, I suppose we did learn that the Middle Path Alchemist was pretty good, but I suppose that's already common knowledge, but I personally didn't know that, so I'd say that this is a pretty good experience. Surprisingly, alchemists on their own actually do a pretty good job. I mean, they're pretty slow, it can only do a good job on extremely long maps, but they still did a pretty good job. But in a genuine way, I actually would highly recommend using the Middle Path Alchemist sometime, because for what it's worth, as far as the actual cost goes, it's actually pretty great. I mean, 66 damage per second at tier 5, transforming 5 other monkeys, it's actually pretty darn good. And if anything, I'd say it's actually kind of an overlooked upgrade. Especially considering that pound per pound, it's actually a bit better than Plasma Monkey Fan Club, realistically speaking, considering that in most games you're not going to get a massive army of dart monkeys just for one strategy, I think. Not to mention that it's a lower cost makes it more viable on harder maps, unlike Plasma Monkey Fan Club, which takes a lot of setup and a pretty big cost to boot. And we're going to save the BMA for a different video, actually. But for now, I just gotta say, I don't like it. Well, not exactly, but we'll talk about that later. And in conclusion, I like this concept. I liked doing this. I did this for me.
I did it for me.
And if you'd like to keep up to date, have the latest info on what I'm gonna do next, look at these places that are on screen. One of them's called a Twitter. The other one's called Discord. Discord, like the My Little Pony character, yeah? And also, truth be told, these are no longer going to be just wastelands that exist for the sake of existing. I'm actually going to be active on them, surprisingly enough. I can't say that I'm going to be popping off 24/7, however, I think I actually want to start interacting with the folks that watch these videos, because, surprisingly enough, I kind of like doing it. And also, posting teasers gives me a funny feeling on the inside. Because then people are like, oh my gosh, what is next video? Is it going to be the Morse guide? Please give us the Morse guide, Morse guide, Morse guide, Morse guide, Morse guide, Morse guide. You know, I think I'm actually starting to get a screw loose after all this Morse guide stuff. But with that said, you know, there actually feels like I'm kind of missing something. Like, there's something in this video that I forgot to include somehow. And it's kind of like, something about a finger? Well, anyway, I bid you all a farewell.